Hello and welcome to another wonderful edition of B.E.P Talks, where we bring you wonderful people from all around the world, all walks of life, all areas of expertise, all in a wonderful spirit of sharing their beliefs, their experiences, and their passions to motivate, inspire, educate, even entertain. And pardon me, fighting a little cold here. We have an amazing guest today. I have so looked forward to introducing just a wonderful keynote speaker. Her name is Kendra Mack. She is an author, a keynote speaker, a consultant, a trainer, decade plus of experience. Let me just ask her to join us right now. Come on in, Kendra.
Hello, Beth.
Hello, and how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful now that we've connected here. You know, in introducing you, I use certain words because they apply.
Mhm.
Consultant, keynote speaker, author, what have you. In vetting you for B.E.P Talks, for you to share your beliefs, experiences, and passions, I was very intrigued because there are some phrases that are kind of unique in your world. And two of them that I love is a clarity strategist, love it, and a activation expert.
Yes.
Now, having mentioned both of them, are they mutually exclusive? Does one come before the other? Share with us what both of those mean to you.
Absolutely. So they work together. So my area of focus is helping people get catalytic clarity. So how do you really ask layers and layers of questions to really get exceptional clarity on what you want, where you're going, on your goals? And then the activation piece comes after, because oftentimes people ask me like, "Oh, you do goal setting." And it's so much more than goal setting. It's really about how do you activate and take aligned action. So how do we be strategic and use that clarity that we get to actually achieve and break through the status quo and get things done? So that's how I see those two working together.
You know what? That makes so much sense. So one is kind of the what and the why. And
Mhm.
once you have clarity, you're clear about that. Now we move to the how
Yes,
and
absolutely.
activation. Not that you necessarily have a statistic. Does everybody know what their why and their what is?
I don't have the exact numbers, but from my experience with coaching, a lot of people don't. And I think when we talk about goal setting, and people always bring up SMART goals, and my main issue with SMART goals is because of the time bound issue, it's so close. Like they're making like small goals as opposed to thinking, what is my long term why? What is my long term vision? And usually, when you focus on SMART goals, that really doesn't incorporate what is your overall why? Like, what are you trying to get to? What are you trying to build? What kind of life do you overall want to
Andrea,
have?
let me interrupt you for a minute. I believe, let's define what do you mean by a SMART goal, just to make sure everybody understands what that is.
So SMART goals, it's a way of setting goals. It's time bound. It's realistic. It's a way to like formulate your goals in a way where you're like, okay, I know how long it's going to take me. It's realistic. It's manageable. And that's a common way that people set goals. But to your point of people not knowing their why, that's kind of one of the pieces that is missing is really what is your why and what you're trying to build long term.
So I'm thinking of a football game. Like
Mhm.
the SMART goals are, well, you want to get 10 yards at a time. You have four chances to make 10 yards.
Mhm.
But the ultimate goal is to get 100 yards or however to score the touchdown and get the points. So one is more short term, one is more long term, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and even to that example, it's like when you think long-term vision, which I'll talk about, it's like, is your long-term vision to break a world record? So you need to get so many yards per game. Is it to win the championship? Like what is it to win the Super Bowl? Like what does all of those smaller steps in each game, in each quarter, what should that add up to?
Gotcha. Gotcha. Do women have more of a challenge with this than men tend to do?
Oftentimes, yes, because what I found with women is we have a lot of stereotypes, we have a lot of societal influence on kind of what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do. And if we don't have that kind of confidence level or that
Mm,
self-assuredness
mm.
to break outside of that, we kind of shortchange ourselves in what we reach for.
I also think, and listen, I've coached, women all around the world. I also think that women are much more susceptible to interruptions in their life, that
Yes.
they're on a track, maybe a SMART goal as you've defined, or they're forming their why, they think they have clarity, and then something happens that they get out of focus again. The vision gets fogged. Is
Yes.
that a correct perception? Do you think that women tend to?
Absolutely. I think women, have a lot of responsibilities.
Mhm.
And I think balancing on which should take priority, even if you have a career goal or if you have a path that you're on, family, other responsibilities, friends, like things come up and people
Sure.
will tell you all day that you need to take care of everybody else. And so it takes a lot of strength and confidence to say, I'm going to stick to my goals and I'm going to stay focused on what I'm working on.
And I love that you said that because I have said that in variations of that theme, that it's kind of the airline thing. When the oxygen drops down, they tell you you've got to save yourself before you think you can save somebody else. And that
Absolutely.
women still have that challenge within their own minds about
Mhm,
it's selfish if I take care of myself first. And I say,
mhm.
listen, if you don't keep filling up. What do you have to give anybody else? You're
Absolutely.
depleted, and then you're not helping anybody.
Absolutely. You have to give from your overflow and make sure that your cup is full. Make sure that you have your mask on first, and then give from a place of wholeness where you can really show up for people. Because I think we've often been conditioned to give and give until we're depleted. And then we're trying to figure out why we're burnt out, why we're stressed, why we have, health issues, and really taking that time to say, it's not selfish, it's
Yeah,
self-full. I'm gonna make sure
yeah,
that I
yeah.
am filled so that I could give at the highest capacity.
So, so true. And then, what ends up happening with a lot of women, you get to the point where you're giving for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And when you're giving, that's such a wonderful thing to do. And we all, I think, in our natures want to do that. But you're doing it for the wrong reason and you're not getting anything back for it. And there needs to be that quid pro quo philosophically, if you will,
Yes,
that's how you keep filling your own cup up. So,
absolutely,
who typically
reciprocity.
is your audience?
So my audience is driven, high-performing professional women who are looking for clarity. They know that they are capable of contributing more and they want to increase their impact, but they're just really not sure how to break through that next level.
So, I know you're a keynote speaker, and I'm going to ask you to share a bit of your keynote, if you can
Okay.
do that with us, so that we get a sense of you have such powerful messaging. And I read that, by looking at you online and seeing you and listening to some of your videos. You have such powerful messages, and the need for women
Mhm.
to hear that, um, so so important. So, can we do that? Can you share some of your keynote with us?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so without further ado, I'm turning it over to Kendra, and I'll see you all again in just a little bit. Thanks, Kendra. The stage is yours.
Absolutely. So, who here wants a career in life they are completely in love with? I'm assuming that we're all we're all raising our hands. Great. So, a few months ago, I actually shared a video of one of my keynotes with one of my friends. It's not often that I get a full recording of one of my keynotes, so I was really excited to be able to share it with friends and get some feedback. The first person I sent it to, he called me within a few minutes of sending it to him. And I knew he could not have watched the whole thing because he called me so fast. But when I answered, he was like, I watched the first few minutes of your video and I don't remember exactly what you said, but I remember how it made me feel. And I was like, oh, great. How did it make you feel? Was it good? No. I was like, what? He said no. And he went on to share with me that when he was younger, he thought his parents were perfect. He thought that they had the perfect life. And it wasn't until he was older that he found out that, I mean, they have issues like everyone else. But it made him very sensitive to people portraying a certain level of perfection. And that's what he felt like I was doing. And I'm not going to lie, I got defensive pretty swiftly. And I said, you know, my journey, you know, my transformation, you know, that years ago I was stuck in jobs that I hated and I just felt like I was in dead end jobs and I was in this cycle of jobs that I didn't like. I was frustrated. I was anxious. I didn't feel like I was adding value. I wasn't being recognized. And my life has done a complete 180. And, you know, now I'm in a career that I love. I get to serve and work with amazing companies. I was recognized as one of Color Magazine's Chief Diversity Officers of the Year last year. I'm honored in publications. I speak at conferences, like I do all these things, and I'm like running down my resume. And he said, whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't have to sell yourself to me. I know you're amazing. And I said, well, but when I was sharing that, you said it made you feel like I was trying to say I was perfect. And that's not how I want my audiences to feel. And so we went on to talk about how the success goalpost keeps moving. Once we reach a goal and once we reach a certain level of success, we keep pushing that goalpost a little bit further. We want to achieve a little bit more. We want to try something different. And essentially, it's just a lifelong journey. And I'm saying all this to say that no matter what I say today, I am not saying that I am perfect. I am not saying that my life is perfect. I am on this journey just like you are. And the tool that I'm going to share today is something that completely transformed this journey for me. And I know I wouldn't be as far as I am if I had not used this tool. And so, my hope is that today I get to share a small piece of that system with you, and you leave with a little bit more clarity to help you get a little bit closer to the life that you deserve and that you want. Is that okay? Fabulous. So, in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you what took me a little over 10 years to learn. After coaching hundreds of leaders in the last few years, I found that the key problem is how we think about motivation. Now, motivation is not this like fleeting feeling that everyone talks about. I really hate the way people talk about motivation. It's like it's something you catch, it's totally out of your control. And often, what's happening is people are confusing motivation with inspiration. Now, inspiration is being stimulated to do something. To inspire is defined as to fill someone with the urge to do something. Inspiration is divine and it swoops in all kinds of unexplainable ways. And it's often prompted by something external. You were inspired to take action. Motivation, on the other hand, true motivation comes from within. Motivation is defined as a reason for doing something. That's the actual Oxford definition, a reason for doing something. Now, that's not nearly as fluffy or as an elusive that we make it seem, is it? Now, I've coached hundreds of people, and the biggest thing I hear is, Kendra, I just need more motivation. I'm just not motivated. Or my team, it's my team, they're just not motivated, and I don't know how to motivate them. And what they're really saying is they don't have a reason. Think about it. Let's say you have a project and you're given 1 week to complete it. It will likely take you a week. If you're given 1 month to complete it, it will likely take you a month. Because typically, however much time you give yourself to do something, that's about how much time it will take. So let's say someone comes up to you week 1 asking, hey, have you finished that project that you have a month to do? Your answer will likely be no, you weren't motivated enough to start it yet because you didn't have a reason to. And you might be thinking, well, Kendra, there's a lot of other factors involved, like time and priorities. Exactly. Because you were given a month for that project, everything else that had more pressing deadlines had more pressing reasons. Because again, if your deadline was a week, I bet you would have figured out how to get it done in a week. That's what we high performers do. And I know that's who's watching this right now. That's why I tweaked the definition just a little bit. In my programs, I define motivation as when your reason to take action outweighs anything else. So, something I want you to do the next time you say or think, I'm not motivated, I want you to swap that with, I don't have a reason. So, instead of saying, I'm just not motivated to work out, I don't have a reason to work out. I'm not motivated to apply for that promotion. I don't have a reason to apply for that promotion. It doesn't quite feel the same, does it? I'm just not motivated at work. I don't know my reason to be there. Now, that one, especially when I work with managers, it's easy to say, well, your paycheck is your reason. But there have been extensive studies that show money is not the most effective motivator. I mentioned earlier internal versus external. What we know about motivation is that internal motivators are more effective and sustainable than external motivators. One of my favorite theories is the self determination theory. Psychologists Richard Ryan and Edward Deci did extensive studies on motivation. Their goal was to understand high quality motivation, the kind of motivation that not only produced people's best work, but also gave them the best experience. They found that the most influential contributor to high quality motivation was autonomy. Their studies showed that the people with greater autonomy made better decisions and sustained those decisions longer. And isn't that what it's all about? Making better decisions to get us closer to where we want to go. That's why we chase motivation so much, to act on those decisions that we know will get us further and closer to where we want to be. That's why I have such a problem with how we describe motivation. It takes away our autonomy. Saying that our ability to make better decisions for ourselves belongs to this fleeting feeling that we can't control or hold on to, no, I do not subscribe to that. And that's why I created the framework I'm about to share with you. I developed this method at a time in my life when I was determined to take my power back. For years, I had followed the path that others set before me. I never took the time to really consider what I wanted, what kind of life that would I find the most fulfilling. I had searched outside of myself for so long, and I was not getting the results that I wanted. And I mean, honestly, the results weren't bad. I always had good jobs. I was making good money, working for good companies, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. And I also wasn't moving up or getting promoted. I just felt stuck and powerless. I couldn't figure out what to do about my job situation. So I looked outside of my job. I looked for something that I could do that would bring me joy and keep me motivated, something that made me feel like I was adding value. So I decided I wanted to speak to women about confidence. I wanted to lead workshops and speak on stages. So I started researching, how do you do that? How do you take your lessons learned and put it into a curriculum? How do you put speeches together? And I started seeing, ads about coaches. This was during the time when life coaching and business coaching really started to kick up on social media. So I started working with a coach who I paid far too much money at the time to, just for her to tell me that my dream of becoming a speaker wasn't going to happen. She said that there were plenty of broke speakers out there and that the money was in coaching. So that's what she was going to teach me to do. And I'm not going to lie, that felt like a gut punch. I mean, I was a little bit devastated by that statement, but when I thought about it, I was like, well, I hired her as the subject matter expert. I hired her to teach me. So maybe she knows what's best. Maybe she's right. So I did all the things. I got the website, I built the funnels, I got the scheduling systems, I was posting the ads, I was doing all kinds of things on social media, and I was getting some traction. I was getting to booking discovery calls and I was getting clients. Now, flash forward a few months, and there I was on the floor of my mom's third bedroom that I was using as a makeshift office, just defeated. Like, literally back where I started, trying to figure out why this thing that I was chasing to give me motivation and to give me fulfillment, like, why wasn't it working? And again, I mean, it was technically working. I was getting clients, but I still wasn't happy. And I just couldn't figure out, like, what is missing? Like, what is wrong? And I don't know if you've ever had one of those moments where it was like kind of like an aha moment where an epiphany just kind of drops into your spirit. That's what happened to me that day. A little voice, as I was sitting there crying out, trying to figure out why, a little voice dropped into my spirit and said, "This isn't what you're supposed to be doing." And as I sat there and thought about it, I was like, that's right. It was put on my heart to be a speaker, and this isn't the path I wanted to be on. I realized that not only did I allow another person to take me off my path, worse, I paid her to do it. I was so frustrated. So I went back to the drawing board, literally. I pulled out one of those large sticky pads and I started the process that I'm about to show you. I realized that I had to get crystal clear in four key areas: my long term vision for my life, my self belief system, or what I call your SBS, my plan of action, and the habits I would need to adopt to get me there. This framework took me from a complete career pivot, I mean, starting completely over, entry level in a new industry, to vice president in 5 years. That framework is PATH, PATH. Pin your vision, affirm your beliefs, tailor your routes, and hone your habits. Now, I don't have time to go over all the steps today, so I'm going to briefly touch on pin your vision. Have you ever used a GPS? Of course, I'm sure we all have. The purpose of a GPS is to help you get somewhere that you've probably never been. And that's the first thing. And what's the first thing you do when you use a GPS? You put in the destination. And that's what pin your vision is. This step is all about starting with the end in mind. So when I had that big sticky pad on the floor, I thought about what I wanted my life to look like 10 years from that moment. And I want you to do this. After this, I want you to grab a pen and really think about what would a successful life look like for you in 10 years. Later, when Beth and I share what how you can connect with me further, I have a gift that will help you do this activity. A key factor in this step is giving yourself permission to dream beyond the boundaries you were given. Give yourself permission to be your own visionary and draft the vision for your life. Now, I'm not saying to write down that you're going to be a millionaire in 10 years, unless that's what you want. But when I say go beyond your boundaries, I mean don't confine yourself to anyone else's definition of success. If you want to be a millionaire, write it down. If you want to be retired and living on a beach, write that down. If you want to be living comfortably and working a 9 to 5 that you love, write that down. Everyone isn't meant to be a millionaire. Everyone isn't meant to be an entrepreneur. Everyone is worthy of it. Everyone has the capability to do those things, but you don't have to if you don't want that. Remember, this is about owning your autonomy and reclaiming your power. You have the power to create whatever life you want, and it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. And I want to emphasize that the point of this is not to make you feel further away from your goals. I really hate those kind of like motivational talks that give you these lofty dreams and just kind of leave you less motivated because you feel so far from it. The point of this is for you to own and get clarity on your vision so you can assess the gap between where you want to be and where you are now. And so you can see the power of where you are now, because clarity changes everything. When the people I coach go on and on about how they're not motivated at work, they're not motivated in their current role, I always ask them, well, where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And more often than not, the answer is, I don't know. Well, if you don't know where you're going, it's hard to know the purpose of where you are. I often think about the Cheshire Cat and Alice in Wonderland. That scene where she's asking for directions and the cat asks, "Well, where do you want to go?" And Alice responds, "It doesn't really matter." Well, then it doesn't really matter what direction you go. When you don't know where you want to end up, it doesn't matter what you do today, what you do tomorrow, what steps you take, or what moves you make. And there's a science behind having a path to follow. When you're not on a path to something, it's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to know your reason. And if you're a leader of people or if you have children, if they don't have something personal they're working towards, it's going to be hard to engage them where they are. When you take the time to create your vision, that will be your motivation. It will be your reason. It will be your reason to show up and your reason to give 100%. It will give you a lens to look at your current situation more strategically, for you to see the skills that you're building, the lessons that you're learning, and what opportunities you currently have access to. I want you to think about it like this. Imagine you decided you want to buy a new car. You decide you want a white BMW. So you're researching it, you're looking at pictures, you're visiting the dealership, you're picturing yourself driving down the road and pulling into your driveway. When you're out and about and running errands, what are you going to start seeing all over the roads? White BMWs. Now, did you magically manifest these cars? No, they were probably always there, but because it's now top of mind for you, you're more attuned to recognize them. This is the same thing. When you are crystal clear on your vision for your life and you have that vision top of mind, you're more attuned to see the opportunities that align with where you want to be. And when you have clarity in all four of those key areas, you will take aligned action. You will persevere and you will create the habits you need to succeed at whatever you want. No matter where you are right now, you are not stuck. You are not behind. You are purposefully positioned right where you are. You determine the meaning of where you are by deciding where you're going. And that's the beauty of this path framework. You can keep revisiting it. When your motivation wavers and you feel it slipping, recognize that what's really slipping is your clarity on your reason. And when you reach that next level, if you decide to keep pushing that goalpost of success, revisit your path, pin your new vision, affirm your beliefs, tailor your routes, and hone your habits. Clarity is how you'll reclaim your power and own your journey to success. Thank you.
You know, I love common sense. I love logic. I love practicality. And thank you, thank you, thank you on all three of those points, because that was just amazing. It makes so much sense. Um, I love your statement. You are purposely positioned right where you are is where you're meant to be now. That's just a starting point, correct?
Correct.
And
Yes.
unlike Alice, well, you can go northeast, south, or west. As soon as you know what that goal is, you know which way to go.
Absolutely.
So when you're talking about pin your vision, are people afraid to, is there a fear factor in there that are afraid to do it because of fear of failure?
Yes, I think in some cases it's a fear of failure. Like they don't want to fly too close to the sun, they don't want to aim too high. And we all have those naysayers of, oh, we don't do that. Our family doesn't start businesses. We've never done. So there's all these factors that is like, well, I don't want to put this out there and then I don't make it and then I fail. But then also, there's so many people that I work with, especially women, when we get into their limiting beliefs, some of them are actually afraid to succeed. Like they're
Oh, that's
afraid that
very
they'll
real.
actually do it, and then what? So it's like it's two sides of that coin. And I think with driven, successful professional women, usually it's that of like, no, I think I can do it, but I'm afraid to actually succeed and get it done.
And what movie was it, in Spider-Man or something, that with great something comes great responsibility.
With
So
great power,
great power comes
great power.
something like that, about then you, and it is true with women.
Mhm.
Women are competitive beings, I believe, on an
Mhm.
emotional basis. And the fear of being proven wrong,
Yeah.
like when you go to the dream stealers and ask for permission to do something,
Mhm.
and they say, oh, no, no, because that's human nature. It's a little bit of a protection thing. They don't want to be
Mhm.
responsible for your taking action that you don't bring to fruition. So it's easier on them to be a
Mhm.
naysayer. And I have coached so many women that come from that exact perspective because someone else told me I shouldn't or couldn't.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, that is so sad.
It is. And even like it adds to the fear because it takes a certain amount of strength to say, okay, well, I'm still going to go after it. But then there's that fear of now if I fail, they're going to be like, I told you so. And then I
Yes,
have to face that they told me so. And so, and even if that's not holding them back 100%, that's making them hesitate, that little voice is making them not go full force and take full action. And then it kind
absolutely.
of turns into like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because it's like if you didn't listen to them and if you had put 100% in it, you could have succeeded at it.
And then guess what? You'll never know.
You'll never know.
So does that give you a feeling of safe? Maybe to the people you're asking permission of, listen, I've done speaking and I've said to people, to women, stop asking for permission to be great and then stop apologizing when you are.
Absolutely.
If you are inspired, which you're saying, comes from wherever it comes from, that feeling
Mhm.
that you just wake up one day and, you know, listen, I've gotten out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning because I wake up with a thought and I'll go to the computer and I'm like, why am I doing this? Because I was inspired to do it.
Mhm.
Then it goes to motivation. Why? Because I don't want to forget what the thought is. And there
Mhm.
is a sense of urgency based on a timeline. So I guess it makes the world interesting that we all kind of vibrate at a different level and for different
Yeah,
reasons.
absolutely.
Um, so we're all purposely positioned where we're supposed to be, but it doesn't mean you have to stay there.
No, absolutely not. I think when I kind of got this message when I first started years ago coaching millennials specifically, but
Mm,
as I've grown and I've started coaching leaders and more powerful women as they kind of go through the career path, it's they feel like, well, this current role doesn't matter, or since I don't know where I'm going, oh, I'm just kind of doing this job in the meantime and I'm
mm,
behind. And it's like, no, you're not behind. We just have to figure out the benefit of where you are, because you are where you are for a reason, whether it's to learn something or get access to something or to grow in some way. But if we treat, where we are now just as like a throwaway, we're going to miss the lesson. So it's like, how do we see what's the purpose of where I am and leverage that to get to where we want to go?
exactly, exactly. You're there because you've kind of put yourself there, and if you
Mhm.
put your car in park, you're going to stay there.
Absolutely.
Um, so change. I love that you also had a football analogy, like I did. I was referring to football, and you said something also. First, I want to say shame on your coach, shame on the person to whom you paid a lot of money and put a pin
Mhm.
in your, the balloon, which we'll call
Mhm.
your dream. But congratulations to you for recognizing it. And you know what? That was your aha moment. And I believe that some of those aha moments are some of the most powerful because they bring us back to such basic things.
Mhm.
And what am I doing? Why am I sitting here? Why have I stolen? Oh, the sun is shining. Oh, I should be outside to, simple little things. But there's no
Mhm.
limit to the power of an aha moment. I even have that in a sales course saying that in going over it, you should have aha moments. You
Mm.
should say, I forgot that I knew that. I was capable of that. I forgot that it's okay for me to dream bigger. But listen, if you want to stay safe and you want to stay where you are, that is a
Mhm.
choice, is it not? That is yours to make.
Absolutely. That's absolutely a choice. I think I've gotten a few comments. So after I'll do a keynote, I have people come up and chat with me after. I often have at least one or two people who will say, Kendra, I'm happy where I am. Like,
That's
I really
okay.
don't want a promotion. Like, should I be striving for more? And I'm like, no. The
Yeah.
point is for you to determine what makes you happy and for you to, if you have clarity around like, no, I love my current role. It gives me the flexibility I need. It gives me everything I need. I am comfortable. Fantastic. That is the goal to get to that place. If you change your mind or if you decide, I want to grow or I want to do something else, then revisit the framework and just give yourself permission to do that. But you can
Right.
also give yourself permission to say, I'm fine where I am.
And maybe it was, I don't know, was it in the 80s or whatever, where women were told that they were supposed to want everything. And if
Mhm.
they didn't want it, well, if you didn't want it, then you were probably never going to have it. And that makes all the sense in the world. But you couldn't be complete if you didn't have it all, or if at least you didn't want it all. So I know like a generation or half a generation, perhaps older than I, who were clients of mine, um, they were doing things for the wrong reasons. They were doing it because of the social pressure that they were told or shamed
Yeah.
if you didn't at least want to have it. But
Mhm.
personal happiness is such a gift. And if you find that whether it's in to be an entrepreneur, which is sometimes a curse, or to raise a beautiful family, or to work in your community, to do volunteer, whatever it is that fills your heart,
Mhm.
can make a change in the lives of other people. That's your gift. That's
Absolutely.
your choice. So perspective, it kind of goes back to what the friend you were referring to who was watching part of your talk, that he had an emotional reaction to it. And that's
Mhm.
a good thing. There's a
Yes.
lot of validation in emotional reactions. We have reactions more in emotion than in logic. Emotion
Mhm.
happens first, logic comes later. And that's just how our bodies work. If
Absolutely.
it's emotional, then it becomes logical or illogical. Um, do you do one-on-one training? I know that as a keynote speaker, you speak to groups. I know that you've worked with corporations. Do you do training? Do you do one-on-one coaching as well?
Yes. So in addition to the keynotes, I do corporate training. So for groups, sometimes I'll go and work with this with people leaders and or their teams. And on the individual level, I have a group program that will be launching soon. And occasionally I do one-on-ones. But I found a lot of impact in the group dynamic of working together. So sometimes I do one-on-ones, but I think the group dynamic can be really powerful.
I totally agree with you. There's something wonderful about not having that one-on-one pressure.
Mhm.
But if you need it and it's there, and that's how you work best, that some people don't want to hear themselves out loud in
Mhm.
front of other people. It's an admission, it's a confession, it's an uncomfortable thing. They work better. But the validation, if that's the right word, tell
Mhm.
me if you have a better word, that to say it's not just me.
Yes.
I'm not the only one. So knowing me, I'm like, I could be great in a group and say, oh, thank God, it's not just me. I'm not the only one. I'm not broken. It's just where I am right now. Then I would
Mhm.
want to go and do the one-on-one.
Absolutely. And I am a coach by nature, so my role is to ask questions to kind of like pull information out of you, but when we have that group dynamic, you can hear other people's breakthrough, you can hear the tips and tools that they use and we can like learn from each other. So to your point, yes, I think the group dynamic is great, but if there are those instances where it's like, hey, I would just love just like a one-on-one, I definitely offer those
Yeah.
as well.
And don't you find that there are moments where there are people, I know these people, they can give advice so easily to other people, but don't
Yes.
recognize
Yes.
their own need or take advice from other people. So you know what? It makes the world interesting, if
It
nothing else.
does.
It
It
makes the world
does.
interesting. Some other notes. I did want to say, again, I said shame on your coach. Um, does inspiration have to happen before motivation?
It doesn't have to. I think inspiration is, again, it's one of those like divine things. You really don't know
Yeah,
where it comes from. I think inspiration is a supplement and it can be added value in terms of sparking new ideas or sparking new ways to do things. But I think motivation is the foundation. So having that intrinsic reason why and knowing what you're working towards and then allowing inspiration to kind of guide you along the
to
journey.
keep you going, to keep you
Yeah.
energized. So being motivated is like a step toward a
Mhm.
goal, but it's not the goal unless people say, okay, I got motivated and the game is over, but you don't do anything. Clearly
Mhm.
not motivational. It's clearly you didn't. So when we hear motivational speakers, and you did say that motivation comes from outside.
Inspiration comes from outside.
Inspiration, right?
Mhm.
Inspiration. So with the term motivational speakers, can others give you motivation, or do they become your inspiration?
I think they become your inspiration. I was gonna say, I don't know, this might be a hot take that other speakers don't like, I am not a
It's just
fan
your
of
opinion.
the
It's just,
term.
it doesn't, yeah, it's just
Yeah,
where
I'm not
you're
a fan
coming
of the
from.
term motivational speaker. I always tell people I am not a motivational speaker. I'm going to give you tools and I'm going to give you things that you could take with you. Now, I might inspire you in some way to use these tools or take these actions, but you have to give yourself motivation because when we think about why it doesn't work or like, oh, these motivational talks, like if it was that easy, I mean, we would all be millionaires after one conference, right? We would all just be, inspired and we would all just, but it's not enough because you have to give yourself motivation. Like you have to take what you were inspired to do from that talk or that conference and have that intrinsic motivation to actually keep going, to keep taking action because I mean life happens, so you got kids and you got jobs and you got family and you have your crazy neighbor next door and you got the dogs and you got laundry. So it's like unless you have that intrinsic motivation, only you can give yourself that.
Right.
And that's what's going to carry you
Yeah.
through the different things that life
Right.
throws at you.
That's what I was referencing before, that for a lot of women, women have a lot of interruptions in life,
Hmm.
and they're easy. I believe that there's a difference between a reason and an excuse,
Hmm.
and that people rely too heavily on an excuse. It's a permission to not do something,
Oh,
which
absolutely.
means then that your reason is just not strong. Your why has to become stronger than your why not.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's it.
Absolutely. It has
That's
to
it.
be.
That's it. Um, how do people get in touch with you, Kendra?
Yes. Well, you can visit my website, kendramack.com. And I would love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn. I love following people and connecting. And, I mentioned that gift of that activity to help you go through that workshop. If you connect with me on LinkedIn and just send me a direct message of motivation, I will send you my motivation makeover checklist and give you that activity. I love to connect with people that way.
Oh, I know you do. I hear it in your tone, in your voice, your spirit. It really, it just comes right through. So I'm going to say this. I believe that you have inspired people to become motivated to get in touch with you. And you see your name, it's kendramack.com. So easy to remember. And maybe you do a little soul searching. Maybe you've already had an aha moment based on what Kendra has said. And maybe you're really close to that aha moment. Don't deny yourself. Don't deny yourself that step. Don't deny yourself the opportunity to fulfill a dream, a goal, whatever it is. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just if it's right for you now. So wherever you are now, as Kendra has told us, you are purposefully positioned right where you are. Which direction do you want to go in? I say go to kendramack.com, start there, and let this inspiring and motivating, wonderful, wonderful speaker take you where you are destined to be. And enjoy the journey as you're doing it. Enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
Kendra, I thank you so, so much. KendraMack.com. And I say thanks everybody for listening and for watching. And you are invited to come and share your beliefs, your experiences, your passions here at B.E.P Talks, where we're always in the moment, authentic, honest, open, and always there to be of support to each other. And Kendra, you are such a quintessential example of all of that. And I thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
My absolute pleasure. And as we always say at the Global Society of Empowered Women, which sponsors B.E.P Talks, may the best always be yet to come. It is one step at a time. So until we talk again, bye for now. Thanks for watching.